Hi, welcome back to Follet, the novel about the incubus that gives you a heaping helping of music, sex, and pie in every chapter, along with a supernatural battle between good and evil. Had to throw that in. Today we're going to read the first part of chapter 15, and just to remind you, as many other snippets from this novel are, this particular one is not appropriate for work or children. Nope, 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 nope. Read it yourself. Read it to someone you love. But don't do it at work. And little kids should not have anything to do with this book. Well, most of this book. Okay, I can trust you. I know you'll do well. We have, well, there's Troop. There's Troop, everybody. Here we go. That's Troop. So we will leave him be and get back to what we were doing. Okay. So, bear with me just a second. And we'll get started. Kittens. Go figure. Okay. So this, once again, for the excitement of the kittens, it's the first part of chapter 15. If you're ready, here we go. Follet and Mary drove as fast as they could to get out of Rome. Follet had stopped by the airfield to talk to Fobator first, to let him know that he and Mary were headed west and then south, and that they would be in New Orleans in 3 or 4 days. Follet and Fobator embraced and wished each other safety. And when Follet got back into the car, he pushed the accelerator to the floor until they had crossed the Alabama border. The clouds that had shrouded the night sky in Georgia parted to reveal a waxing moon. The moon of regeneration, Mary whispered. Huh? Follet replied. When the moon is ahead of the sun, a few days after the new moon, it is a time for making plans, making a change. Anything you do to fortify yourself is more effective when the moon is waxing, Mary explained. Where to now, Follet? She asked as she let her fingers weave a gentle dance in the hair at the base of his skull. Muscle Shoals and then on to the Delta. Clarksdale. I've got a hankering for tamales, he said. Tamales? Mary asked with a quizzical look. They're red hot, Follet told her. They drove in silence for a while. Mary snuggled up against Follet so that he could drive left-handed and hold her close with his right arm. Mary reached to the dashboard and turned on the radio. I got silence on my radio. Let the airwaves flow. Let the airwaves flow. While I'm sleeping under strange, strange skies, just another mad, mad day on the road, my dreams is fading down the railway line. I'm just about a moonlight mile down the road. I'm hiding, sister, and I'm dreaming. I'm riding down your moonlight mile. I'm hiding, baby, and I'm dreaming. I'm riding down your moonlight mile. Opined Follet. That's one of the ones that they didn't record at Muscle Shoals. What? Moonlight Mile. Follet squeezed Mary's waist. From Sticky Fingers. The Stones recorded most of the songs in 1970 at Stargroves with the mobile studio, but 3 songs were cut at Muscle Shoals, just about a moonlight mile down the road from us right now. Sticky Fingers? Mary asked. Yep, Follet chuckled. The first Stones album after they were finished with their contract with Decca. Well, they found out they still owed Decca one more single. So they recorded Cocksucker Blues and fulfilled their obligation with that. Find a place to pull over, Follet. Mary snuggled into him and moved her right hand down his jeans to gently knead his crotch. Somewhere private. I'd be much obliged. Follet drove for a few minutes as Mary busied herself rubbing the now stiffening spot between his legs. The caddy's headlights picked out a little grove of trees next to a small white frame building. As Follet pulled off the road, Mary was softly singing. Oh, the Sisters of Mercy, they are not departed or gone. They're waiting for me when I thought that I just can't go on. They brought me their comfort, and later they brought me this song. Oh, hope you run into them, you who've been traveling so long. He noticed that the little white building was a church. Holy Tabernacle of Joy. As Follet pulled behind the copse of trees and turned off the car, Mary began her worship. Mary unbuckled her seatbelt and did the same for Follet. She rose and slid her knees onto the bucket seat so that her head was now a little above Follet's, the top of her head grazing the roof of the caddy. She lowered her mouth to his and kissed him, softly and gently at first, and then more aggressively, and then with a greater need. She broke their kiss to instruct him, loosen your belt and slide your pants and briefs down past your knees. Mary looked down with approval as Follet bared himself, his tumescent cock springing up and swaying slightly as the fabric released him. Mary wriggled around in her bucket seat, kneeling so that she could lean across and attend to him. She grabbed her hair in her fist, making a rough ponytail, and told Follet, "Here, hold this for me." Follet took her shining auburn hair in his right fist, and Mary lowered her head to him. She began. Mary slipped her right hand between Follet's open thighs to slide her fingers under his scrotum, softly cupping his heavy balls. She slowly moved her fingers to explore the full orbs, tracing the sensitive contours hidden in his fleshy sack. She opened her mouth and licked him with her broad, flat, wet tongue, polishing the glands, moving no further. She took her tongue back and opened her lips to allow the head of his penis to enter her wetness, and when she had taken just enough of him to move her lips barely past the flaring corona of his glands, she closed her soft, fleshy lips around Follet's frenulum, squeezing him and then releasing him so that she could slide her lips off him, closing with increasing pressure as she slid him out of her mouth. Mary opened her lips again, but now she moved her mouth down the side of Follet's shaft, her lips opening and closing with kisses, from an almost closed peck to enveloping half of his shaft. As her lips slid down his hardness, her tongue teased and played, licking and slipping against him. She took her head away from him again and moved her mouth to the head of his cock. She licked her lips and opened her mouth just wide enough to accept his erection if she pushed him into her. She took half of his cock in her mouth and then sucked as she pulled him from her mouth. Mary moved her left hand to grip his shaft. She stroked him in the middle of his rod while her busy tongue lapped and licked and brushed him, tasting the musky essence of him. She took him into her mouth again, deeper this time, sucking harder, moving faster, pushing in, pulling almost out. Her one hand stroked him while her other hand fondled him. Follet still held Mary's ponytail with his right hand. He placed his left hand on the crown of her head, his fingers massaging her skull and weaving through her hair. "Come in my mouth, Follet," Mary said softly as she let his cock slip from between her lips, and then she took him in again. Mary moved her left hand more insistently, stroking about half the length of his shaft. She teased him with her tongue and then slid her lips around him, taking him into her warmth. Follet could feel her saliva drooling down his shaft as she sucked and stroked. He felt a wonderful tension build in his groin. He felt her hand that cupped his balls squeeze him a little tighter, and he wanted her to feel his sperm rushing from him there as he exploded. Mary closed her lips around him and beat him faster, anticipating the coming throes of his ejaculation. Follet came in Mary's sweet mouth. When his spasms had subsided, Mary licked stray drops of his jism from her cock and moved her head up to his. "Kiss me, Follet," Mary demanded. "I want you to taste your cum in my mouth." They kissed, mouths open, tongues dancing. Follet tasted Mary's clean, delicious spit, and as her tongue found his, she gave him his own sweet, musky spunk to savor. And then with a quick whisk of her tongue, she swiped the sticky goo back from him to swallow it herself. They kissed for a while longer. When they came up for air, Mary said, "I could really go for some pie, Follet." Mary bent over him again and gave Follet's spent cock a quick peck and then slid back into her bucket seat to put herself together. Follet pulled up his briefs and pants and buckled his belt. He turned on the ignition, and the radio came on with Sam and Dave singing, "You didn't have to squeeze me like you did, but you did, and I thank you. If you took your love to somewhere else, I wouldn't know what it meant to be loved to death. You made me feel like I've never felt. Kisses so good I had to holler for help." And as Follet pulled out onto the little road and headed west, the sun was rising in the rearview mirror. Follet and Mary rolled down the road, looking for pie and singing together, "You didn't have to squeeze me, but you did, and I thank you. You didn't have to hold me, but you did, and I thank you. Every day was something new. You pull out your bag and you're fine to do. You got me trying new things too, just so I can keep up with you." They reached Gadsden and meandered around the early morning streets until they ran out of Gadsden and into Atala. Mary spotted a restaurant with a welcoming neon sign, "Look Out Mountain Pieway," and told Follet, "This must be the place." Follet nodded and pulled into the little gravel parking lot. There were a lot of There were a couple of pickups in the lot. One old rust bucket surrounded by half dozen men dressed in camo with hunter orange caps. Follet and Mary went inside and sat at the counter.